A police unit that specializes in the worst crimes imaginable just opened a case against one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. No charges yet, but the investigation is real. The witnesses are being contacted, and Katy Perry's team has gone completely silent. This is not a rumor. This is not a social media fight. This is a criminal matter, and it is moving fast. It started with a joke, not a lawsuit, not a press conference, not a leaked document, a joke about Justin Bieber.
And got his premium. I don't want to see no ads.
Posted on a Sunday afternoon by a pop star who had no idea what was coming next. Katy Perry had just watched Bieber headline Coachella. She posted a quick jab on Instagram. Something about YouTube Premium, something light, something throwaway. The kind of post a celebrity makes without thinking twice. But someone was watching. Ruby Rose saw that post, and Ruby Rose did not laugh. What she did next set off a chain of events that no publicist, no legal team, and no carefully managed image could have prepared for. She replied, publicly, on Threads, in front of everyone. And her reply was not about streaming services. Her reply was about a night in Melbourne, in the year 2010, at a nightclub called Spice Market. A night she said she had been carrying for almost 2 decades. She wrote that Katy Perry had sexually mistreated her. She was specific. She was detailed. And she was not backing down. Within an hour, the post had spread across every entertainment platform on the internet. Within 6 hours, it was the top trending story in the English-speaking world. Within 24 hours, Ruby Rose had walked into a Melbourne police station and filed a formal report. But here is what most people missed in all the noise. Ruby Rose did not just make an accusation. She made a dare. She wrote that Katy Perry was more than welcome to take her to court. She said Katy Perry would not do it, because the event was real, because she had photos, because it happened in public, because there were witnesses. That is not the language of someone making things up. That is the language of someone who has been waiting a very long time. And then came Tuesday, April 15th, 2026. The Melbourne Sexual Offences and Child Abuse Investigation Team released an official statement. They confirmed a formal investigation had been opened. They confirmed the incident in question took place at a licensed venue in Melbourne's Central Business District in the year 2010. They did not name Katy Perry. They did not name Ruby Rose. They did not have to. Every single person reading that statement knew exactly who it was about. But here is the part that changes everything. The part that turns this from a social media scandal into something much more serious. The unit investigating this case is not a regular police unit, and what they are capable of is something Katy Perry's legal team is very aware of right now. Most people hear the words police investigation and picture a dusty file, a forgotten shelf, a case that goes nowhere. That is not what is happening here. The unit assigned to this case is called SOCIT, the Sexual Offences and Child Abuse Investigation Team. And the moment that name appears on a case file, everything changes. This is not a general crimes unit. It was not built for robberies. It was not built for fraud. It was built specifically for cases like this one, cases involving sexual misconduct, cases where the victim has waited years, sometimes decades. There are around 400 detectives operating inside this system across the state of Victoria. Every single one of them completed specialist training before they were allowed anywhere near a case like this. They work alongside trauma counselors. They work alongside forensic experts. They operate inside dedicated facilities built specifically for this type of investigation. And they have one legal weapon that most people outside of Australia do not know exists. Victoria has no statute of limitations on sexual offences. Read that again. No time limit, no expiry date, no window that closes. A crime committed in 2010 can be charged in 2026. It can be charged in 2040. It does not matter how much time has passed. If the evidence holds up, the case moves forward. That single legal fact is what makes this investigation different from anything Katy Perry has faced before. But there is something else, something the headlines are not explaining. Ruby Rose did not just post on social media and walk away. She finished everything. She went back. She completed every statement, every report, every piece of formal documentation the police requested. Then she posted one final update on Threads. She said she had wrapped up all her statements. She said she could no longer comment publicly on the individuals involved. She said the police had asked her to stay quiet. And then she said something that stopped a lot of people cold. She said it was a relief. Think about what that means. When a person who has been vocal, public, and loud about an accusation suddenly goes quiet and calls it a relief, that is not someone backing down. That is someone who has handed the wheel to a system they trust. And that system is now moving. Victoria Police spokesperson Sergeant Julie Ann Newman confirmed the investigation to NBC News. She confirmed the unit. She confirmed the timeline. She confirmed the location, a licensed venue, Melbourne CBD. The year 2010. She did not confirm the names. She did not need to. Now, here is what nobody is connecting right now. Australia and the United States share a formal extradition treaty. It covers sexual offenses, which means that if this investigation produces formal charges, if prosecutors decide there is enough evidence to move forward, Katy Perry would not be able to simply stay in Los Angeles and wait it out. The process would not be quick. Extraditions rarely are, but they happen. Australian authorities have successfully extradited individuals from multiple countries on charges far older than this one. The clock on this case is not ticking against the investigators. It is ticking against everyone else. And right now, Katy Perry's legal team knows something the public does not yet know. They know exactly what evidence SOCIT is looking for. They know exactly which witnesses could be contacted. And they know that one phone call to the right person could change the direction of this entire case overnight. But they have not said a word about any of it. And that silence, that very specific, very deliberate silence, is starting to say everything. When a celebrity gets accused of something serious, there is a playbook. Express concern. Say you take all allegations seriously. Promise to cooperate. Keep it vague. Keep it warm. Keep it human. Katy Perry's team did none of that. What they released instead was something different, something colder, something that was not written for the public at all. The statement said the allegations being circulated by Ruby Rose were not only categorically false, but also dangerous and reckless lies. It then added that Ruby Rose had a well-documented history of making serious public allegations against various individuals, allegations that had repeatedly been denied by the people named. 2 sentences, that was it. But those 2 sentences were not PR writing. Every single word in that statement was doing a specific legal job. The word categorically removes any middle ground. There is no partial truth available, no gray area, no nuance. It is a full shutdown. The word reckless establishes mental state. In defamation law, reckless means the person making the claim either knew it was false or did not care whether it was true. That is not an accident. That word was chosen by a lawyer. And the line about a well-documented history, that was not a throwaway comment. That was the opening move in a character argument. It was telling a future courtroom that this person has done this before, that this is a pattern of behavior. This statement was written for a judge, not for fans. And here is why that matters more than most people realize. Australian defamation law works differently to American defamation law. In the United States, a public figure has to prove the person who made the claim acted with deliberate malice. That bar is almost impossible to clear. Celebrities rarely win. In Australia, the burden flips completely. The person making the claim has to prove it is true. If they cannot prove it, they lose. Automatically. That one difference has made Australian courts a favorite destination for public figures who want to fight back against accusations. The payouts have been enormous. The precedents are real. Katy Perry's statement reads like the first step in exactly that process. But then came something nobody expected. One day after that statement dropped, one day after her legal team fired that carefully aimed warning shot, Katy Perry posted on her own Instagram story. She did not address Ruby Rose. She did not deny anything herself. She did not mention Melbourne. She did not mention the investigation. She posted the cover of her own song, a track called By the Grace of God, from her 2013 album. Over the image, she wrote 3 words, "I love you." No context, no explanation, nothing else. Fans immediately pulled up the lyrics. One line kept appearing in screenshots across every platform. "The truth will set you free." Was it a message to her fans? A message to God? A message aimed directly at Ruby Rose? Nobody knows. Because nobody from her camp explained it. And Katy Perry herself has not spoken a single public word about this investigation since it opened. But here is what makes that silence even heavier. Katy Perry is not walking into this scandal from a position of strength. Her last album was the worst-reviewed project of her career. Her lead single disappeared from the charts almost immediately. Her decision to work with a producer who has his own serious history of allegations created a fan backlash that lasted months. A high-profile rocket trip became a punchline the internet has not forgotten. A long-term relationship ended publicly. The only thing keeping her year together is a world tour generating serious money. So when her legal team fires courtroom language at a social media post, and when she personally posts cryptic lyrics about truth and love, and when her camp then goes completely dark, that is not confidence. That is damage control. And somewhere in Melbourne, a specialist police unit is still working. What they find next, who they call next, which witness picks up the phone, that is the part nobody can predict. The moment Ruby Rose posted her Threads accusation, the internet did what the internet does best. It started digging. Within hours, someone found something. Something Ruby Rose had written herself. Something public. Something that told a completely different version of that same night. And that discovery changed the shape of this entire case. In the year 2011, Ruby Rose wrote a column for news.com.au. It was part of a series she was doing at the time. Personal stories, life lessons, celebrity confessions. In one of those columns, she talked about the night at Spice Market. She described being out with Katy Perry. She described drinking too much. She described falling off the wagon after 30 days of sobriety. She described the night spiraling out of control. And then she described vomiting on Katy Perry's foot. That was the story. A funny, embarrassing, cautionary tale about drinking, about losing control, about learning a lesson. At no point in that column did she mention misconduct. At no point did she describe anything non-consensual. At no point did she frame the night as traumatic. She framed it as a mess, a mistake, a story she could laugh about later. Skeptics jumped on it immediately. They called it proof the current accusation was made up. They called it proof she was changing her story. They called it proof this was all revenge or clout chasing or something else entirely. But Ruby Rose saw it coming. She addressed the column directly, on Threads, before anyone could use it against her. She said she had turned the story into a funny drunk story on purpose. She said she did not know how else to handle what had actually happened. She said she buried the truth because she did not have the tools to process it. And then she said something that hit harder than any of the other details. She said Katy Perry later helped her get her United States visa. Think about what that means. If the person who hurt you then helps you achieve your biggest career dream, if they hold power over your ability to work in the biggest entertainment market in the world, if they are connected, famous, untouchable, you do not tell the real story. You bury it. You reframe it. You turn it into something manageable, something that does not make you the victim of someone the entire world loves. Trauma researchers have studied this exact pattern for decades. And the statistics back up what Ruby Rose is describing. A 2019 study tracking male survivors of childhood abuse found that the average disclosure time was 21 years. Not 21 months, 21 years. A broader analysis found that over 70% of survivors do not disclose their experience within 5 years of the event. Some wait until they are in their 40s. Some wait until they are in their 50s. Some never tell anyone at all. The gap between the event and the accusation is not proof of a lie. It is one of the most common patterns in sexual trauma cases. But here is the problem. In a courtroom, that column is not just a piece of context. It is evidence. It is a contemporaneous written account, published 1 year after the alleged event, written by the accuser herself, in her own words, with no mention of the claim she is making now. Katy Perry's legal team will use that column. They will hold it up. They will read it out loud. And they will argue that Ruby Rose wrote the real version back in 2011. That everything she is saying now is a rewrite, a reframe, a story that changed when the power dynamic shifted. It does not legally disprove the accusation, but it damages credibility. And in a case built entirely on memory and witness testimony, credibility is everything. Ruby Rose has an explanation. Researchers have data supporting that explanation. But a jury will still see two versions of the same night, written by the same person, 15 years apart, and that contradiction will sit in the middle of the courtroom like a bomb nobody knows how to defuse. But here is what most people are missing while they argue about the column. This contradiction is not the only problem Ruby Rose is facing. There is another issue, another public dispute. Another time, she made serious allegations that ended with denials and no resolution. And Katy Perry's team made sure to mention it in their very first statement. Because Ruby Rose does not just have one complicated history to explain, she has several. In 2020, Ruby Rose left the television show Batwoman. At first, it looked like a standard exit. Creative differences, schedule conflicts, the kind of thing that happens in Hollywood every day. Then Ruby Rose posted. She accused Warner Brothers of serious misconduct. She accused producers of creating a hostile work environment. She named names. She made specific claims. She said she had been pushed out after raising concerns. Warner Brothers fired back immediately. They called her account revisionist history. They said she had been let go based on multiple complaints against her own behavior. They said the real story was the opposite of what she was claiming. Her co-star Dougray Scott went public. He called her claims entirely made up. The fight played out across headlines for weeks. And then it just stopped. No lawsuit, no settlement announcement, no resolution. It just faded. And that fight is now part of the official record that Katy Perry's legal team referenced in their statement. The well-documented history of making public allegations. The pattern of claims that were denied by the people named. It is not the only history between Ruby Rose and Katy Perry either. In 2017, Katy Perry released a song called Swish Swish. Most people thought it was a diss track aimed at Taylor Swift. Ruby Rose went on Twitter and mocked it. She called it a sloppy mess. She dragged the entire production. 2 days later, she deleted the tweets. She posted an apology. She said being mean did not suit her. Katy Perry never responded publicly. She just told a talk show host the song was a great anthem for anyone dealing with bullies. So when Ruby Rose posted her accusation in 2026, it was not coming from a stranger. It was coming from someone Katy Perry had history with. Someone who had publicly criticized her before. Someone who had walked back that criticism. And someone who had a record of public disputes that ended without clear resolution. That is the context Katy Perry's team wants a courtroom to see. But here is what that same team does not want anyone looking at too closely. Because Ruby Rose is not the only person who has said something about Katy Perry. She is not even the first. When you start pulling the thread, when you start looking at the names, when you line them all up in one place, a very different pattern starts to emerge. In 2014, Actress Anna Kendrick appeared on a late-night talk show. She told a story about meeting Katy Perry at an awards event. She said Katy Perry touched her in a way that made her uncomfortable. She used the word aggressive. She described feeling weird about the whole night. The audience laughed. The host laughed. Anna Kendrick laughed through the story. It was played as a funny celebrity anecdote, a harmless moment, nothing serious. But when that clip resurfaced during this current scandal, when people watched it again without the laugh track in their heads, it did not feel funny anymore. Anna Kendrick has not commented on the resurfacing. She has not made any new statements. But the clip is now being shared with a very different caption. Then there is Josh Kloss. He was the male model in the music video for Teenage Dream, the same album Katy Perry was promoting during that Melbourne trip in 2010. In 2019, he posted a detailed accusation on Instagram. He said that at a birthday party years earlier, Katy Perry pulled his pants and underwear down in front of a crowd. He said she exposed him without his consent. He said he felt humiliated. He also said he was paid only $650 for the music video that helped define her career. His post was later deleted. Two of Katy Perry's friends defended her. They said Josh Kloss had been obsessed with her for years. Katy Perry never responded directly. In a later interview, she only said that headlines fly fast and there is no real system of checks and balances. Then there is Tina Kandelaki, a television host in Georgia and Russia. In 2019, she said Katy Perry invited her to a private party. She said Katy Perry had too much to drink. She said Katy Perry chose her as an object to show passion to. She alleged inappropriate touching. She alleged an attempted non-consensual kiss. The story was reported in Russian and Georgian media. It spread slowly into English-language press. Katy Perry's team did not respond. And then there is Benjamin Glaze. In 2018, he auditioned for American Idol. He was 19 years old. He told the judges he had never been kissed. Katy Perry called him up to the stage. He thought it was going to be a kiss on the cheek. She turned her head at the last second. He kissed her on the lips. He fell backward. The moment was broadcast to millions. He later told the New York Times he was uncomfortable. He said he had wanted to save his first kiss for his first real relationship. He did not call it harassment, but he made clear it had shaken him. Katy Perry never publicly addressed it. 5 people, 5 separate incidents, 5 different years, 5 different settings. Anna Kendrick at an award show, Josh Kloss at a private party, Tina Kandelaki at another private event, Benjamin Glaze on national television, Ruby Rose in a nightclub. Different countries, different power dynamics, different levels of fame. But every single story involves the same thing: a boundary crossed, a moment that made someone uncomfortable, and a response from Katy Perry's side that is either silence or a carefully worded denial that never comes from her directly. When you see them separately, they look like isolated incidents, unconnected moments, maybe misunderstandings, maybe exaggerations. But when you see them together, when you line them up, when you notice that every single one involves a public or semi-public setting and a person with less power, the pattern does not look random anymore. And now a police unit in Melbourne is investigating one of those stories. Not all of them, just one. But if that one story leads somewhere, if charges get filed, if this case goes to trial, every single one of those other names will be mentioned in that courtroom. And the question will not be whether Ruby Rose is telling the truth. The question will be whether this has happened before. Right now, this case sits in a very specific kind of silence. Ruby Rose has gone quiet. Katy Perry has gone quiet. The police are working but not talking. And the public is left watching a story that could go in 4 completely different directions, because there are 4 people who hold cards in this game. And any one of them could flip the entire case overnight. The first card belongs to Ruby Rose. She says she has photos from that night. She has never shown them, not to the public, not to the press, possibly not even to her own legal team yet. If those photos exist, if they are time-stamped, If they show what she says they show, everything changes. Photographs from 2010 showing her and Katy Perry together at Spice Market would corroborate location. They would corroborate timeline. They would back up witness statements. And they would give the investigation something concrete to work with beyond memory. But there is a second card she holds: the witnesses. She said there were multiple people there. The best friend whose lap she was resting on. The male friend who came with her to the club. The hair and makeup person who was part of Katy Perry's group that night. Each of those names is a potential interview. Each of those people could back her story or contradict it. Ruby Rose has the power to give SOC a list of names, and the moment those names get called in for questioning, the case moves from allegation to evidence gathering. The second card belongs to Katy Perry. Her team has the option to file a defamation lawsuit in Australia. And under Australian law, that is a weapon most American celebrities do not fully understand. In Australia, Ruby Rose would have to prove her claim was true. If she cannot prove it, she loses automatically. Katy Perry could walk away with a massive payout and a legal ruling that the accusation was false. But there is a risk. Filing a defamation suit triggers a discovery process. That means both sides have to hand over communications, text messages, emails, witness lists, travel records. It means Katy Perry would have to sit for a deposition, under oath, answering questions about that night, about the other allegations, about her behavior in 2010. And all of that becomes part of the public record. That is a gamble, a big one. It might be why no lawsuit has been filed yet. A viral Facebook post claimed Katy Perry had already filed a $1 million suit. That post appears to be fake. No major outlet has confirmed it. No court documents have surfaced. As of right now, there is no defamation case, just the threat of one. The third card belongs to the head of the SOCIT unit in Melbourne. That unit has to decide whether the evidence they gather is strong enough to send a brief to the Office of Public Prosecutions. And that office, not the police, decides whether charges actually get filed. Prosecutors look at one thing: whether there is a reasonable chance of conviction. If they believe a jury could convict based on the evidence, they move forward. If not, the case dies quietly. No charges, no trial. Just a closed investigation that never makes another headline. Victoria has no statute of limitations, so there is no deadline forcing their hand. They can take months. They can take years. The case will move at the speed of the evidence, not the speed of the internet. The fourth card belongs to the witnesses. The nightclub manager who has already spoken to the press. The driver who took them away that night. The security team who escorted them out the back. The staff at the Peel Hotel where they reportedly went afterward. Each of those people may already be getting phone calls, knocks on the door, requests for formal statements. Their memories of a night 16 years ago could be the difference between this case going to court and this case disappearing forever. And here is what nobody outside that investigation knows. One of those witnesses might have already talked. One of those names might have already given a statement that changes everything. One of those cards might have already been played. We just do not know it yet. Because while the internet has moved on to the next scandal, while Katy Perry posts about her tour, while Ruby Rose stays silent, in Melbourne the machinery is still turning. Calls are being made, statements are being taken, evidence is being weighed, and the next move could come at any moment. There is one more detail most people have missed in all of this, and it might be the most important one. The investigation was opened in April. We are now months past that announcement. And in all that time, Katy Perry has not performed a single show in Australia. Her Lifetime's tour hit nearly every major market: Europe, Asia, North America, South America. But Australia was skipped. No explanation, no announcement. Just a gap in the schedule where Melbourne and Sydney should have been. That could be coincidence. Or it could be advice from a legal team that knows extradition becomes a lot more complicated when the person being investigated is not standing on Australian soil. Because here is what happens if charges get filed while she is in the country. She does not leave. And right now, Ruby Rose is not the one talking. Katy Perry is not the one talking. The one talking is SOCIT. To witnesses we do not know about yet, about a night that happened 16 years ago, in a venue that no longer exists. And somewhere in that investigation, there is a piece of evidence that has not been made public yet. A statement, a photo, a name, something that could end this, or something that could